The Knicks are the champions, but who are the other biggest winners and biggest losers of last season? All right, what's up? It's Real GM Radio here on a Tuesday, or we are 1 week away from the NBA draft. We got rumors going around nonstop. Where's Giannis going to end up? Now Trae Young could get traded. Keith Parish is here. He covers the NBA at Fast Break Breakfast and the Memphis Grizzlies over at Grits and Grinds. What are they going to do with John Morant? We got so many things to figure out, but that's the offseason, Keith. We're still, like, the season just ended. I'm not ready to stop talking about the actual NBA season that just happened. The Knicks won the championship. This is my first show here on Real GM Radio since the Knicks beat the Spurs in Game 5. So I want to reflect on last season as a whole. I'm really excited to do this with you because we're going to do the winners and losers of the 2025-26 season. I've had this as an idea of a show that I've wanted to do to kind of put a bow on the season for a couple of weeks now. And I was really excited when I texted you and you said yes, because first of all, I love talking to you. It's been a little bit since you've been on the show. And I think we can get creative with this. And we can just sort of jump around between winners and losers. I put a bunch together. I know you have your own list. I think we have to start with the New York Knicks, though, right? They were the most obvious and literal winners of last season, their first championship in 53 years. And to me, with the Knicks, when I think about them, I think about the fact that all of the moves worked, right? The firing of Tibbs and hiring Mike Brown, the big gamble to go and trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. When everybody said, how are you going to put a championship level defense with Cat and Brunson in the middle of it? They said, that's okay. We've got a better idea. We're going to trade 4.5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Is that a solution to the problem? No. You think that's too much? Too bad. It's still going to end up in winning a championship anyway. Bridges wasn't even very good in the NBA Finals, but it doesn't matter. All the moves worked. This was a team that had drafted just one rotation player in Mitchell Robinson and either signed or traded for everybody else. And that is the Knicks way, and it has been for 53 years. And for 52 of the years, it didn't work. And in that 53rd year, I guess that one was the charm, Keith. Finally, the Knicks wheeling and dealing turned out and ended up being a championship team. So what are your thoughts on the Knicks season?
What an incredible season. And also, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. And it is funny. You say, like, we have a brief moment just to reflect on the last season before the draft. I mean, last year it was like a 3-day because that Thunder Pacers went 7 games. It looked like this series could be a very long series. Unfortunately, Wimby could never come through in the clutch in any of these games. Yeah, the Knicks are the huge winners, a magical season. Like you said, everything is worth it. Like the Mikal Bridges draft pick, like haul that they sent away to get him. Everything worked out great. Also, what a huge win for tampering. Getting Jalen Brunson through free agency.
Tampering, big winner. Yes.
A huge win for tampering. Great job for the Mike Brown thing. I think is one of the funniest stories of this. Not related to Tibbs at all, but how like the Kings sort of fired Mike Brown because he got really mad at a De'Aaron Fox brain lapse at the end of a close game and called him out, and then he got fired, and now De'Aaron Fox is out there having brain lapses at the end of close games, but it's delivering the championship to Mike Brown. I mean, huge win for Jalen Brunson, who has vaulted himself. I mean, I'm not a big tiers guy, but he's like, he has moved up, just not even like historically or anything. Just when we think about the NBA, he now is like that, like primary alpha star that you think of. That, yes, it was very deep team as far as all the starters were legitimate, maybe not deep as far as like how far into the bench they went, but I mean, Jalen coming through the finals performances, specifically the clutch performances year over year, and now throughout this playoffs. I'm also struck with, this was a team that was underdogs in the finals. They were not like the betting favorites to win the East before the playoffs started. Before the season started, they were sort of long shots to win the title. But now when we look at their statistical profile, we look at their playoff run, we look at that historic best point differential over X number game span, going 16-3 and the playoffs. And I'm not even joking. Pairing that with the NBA Cup win earlier in the year, the first team to pull off the double. This looks now like a historically dominant team. And they might be remembered that way. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but when you look back and say this team ended the season crushing everybody, and maybe crush is too strong for the Spurs. Yeah, I mean, incredible winners. Here's a question. Was this the closest 5-game series ever?
It feels like it, doesn't it? Right? Like every game, and the Spurs had double-digit leads in pretty much all of these games, fourth quarter leads in all these games.
Literally every game.
Every game. And so, yeah, it was, and nobody really thought that this, to your point, everybody had this kind of going long. I had Knicks in 6, right? So I wasn't far off, but five games feels like, oh, wow, the Knicks just killed them in the gentlemanly sweep, right? Like that was it. But it didn't feel like that during the series whatsoever. I thought even after the
Spurs in 6, and I feel like I was right. Like they were ahead in the fourth, like they were ahead in the final 2 minutes of every game.
Analytically, they won the finals in 6 games.
The Cavaliers won their series. The Spurs won this series.
Because, so who is the real champion? Who's the analytical? I know the Knicks are your fake champion, like your fake traditional stat championship.
I've got a binder.
Who's the analytical champion?
Yeah, I've got a binder over here. It says Spurs won. No, the
Spurs beat the Cavs in the analytical championship.
That stat that the Spurs were ahead for 71% or whatever it was, 72% of the series, like they led. I don't know how we're supposed to just comprehend those things. It felt like there was one college basketball season, and I have erased all college basketball memories from my mind, but I feel like it's Kentucky, the comeback cats, where I feel like they were down by double digits in every NCAA tournament. Like there was a few, there's a couple of big comebacks, but we're looking at the Knicks where they had, of course, the 29-point comeback, the biggest comeback in finals history, but they had like 3 of the top 5 comebacks in finals history. And it wasn't surprising after a couple games, it was like, well, that was the thing. Like, well, the Spurs are only up 8. This isn't going to last.
Even when the Spurs were up, it never really felt like there was no level. I don't know how you watched the Spurs up. Maybe when they were up 29, you had a certain level of confidence. I certainly wasn't, right? Even during that game, I was like, I don't know. Like the Knicks just erased a 23-point lead against the Cavaliers. We're not that far away from that. And so, yeah, it was weird in that like the leads, like the score almost never felt like it mattered until the fourth quarter of those NBA finals. I can tell you, I don't even think I paid attention to the score very much for the first 3 quarters. I was kind of watching like what was going on the court and who was playing well and whatever. And then I would look at the score at the start of the fourth quarter. I'm like, all right, how many points do the Knicks need to come back from? Because they'll probably do it or at least get close. Yeah, it was a very strange series. It did feel like the Spurs, after they won that first game at Madison Square Garden, I was like, did they figure it out? Because they had led the first 2 games at some points, like we were talking about. Then you have the bad turnover from Wemby at the end of game 2. And you're like, well, if not for that turnover, maybe this is a 1-1 series and we're not thinking about it this way. And now it would be a 2-1 series instead of the other way. And then it was like, no, they didn't figure them out. Like if anything, the Knicks figured out how to win basketball games. Because look, offensively, they didn't score very many points. Like their offensive rating wasn't awesome during the finals. The point totals weren't crazy. It was more of a defensive finals, which I very much enjoyed. But I think that played right into Jalen Brunson's hands. Just be like, okay, I don't even need to really be efficient. I got to put the ball in the basket enough times to win these games. And that's all that matters. And so I think Jalen Brunson is a huge winner, obviously. And I agree with you. I think most people had him sort of in that clump of Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey. I think even Steph Curry has probably fallen down to that clump now after this past season, where he was just sort of, one of the best 5 guys in the league for so long. But now I think you've got to elevate Brunson. I don't know that he's in that top tier with SGA, Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, Luka maybe, but he's like right below those guys. And now I think the argument is, okay, Jalen Brunson or Jason Tatum when Tatum's fully healthy, Jalen Brunson or Cade Cunningham. Like that's the sort of the conversation I think Brunson's in now.
So this isn't something I'd thought about until you just said it right now, but like my gut reaction, and this is probably prisoner to the moment, my gut reaction is I'd rather have Jalen Brunson than Luka Doncic. Like,
I think that's okay.
Yeah, like I don't. Jalen Brunson is out there every game and comes through in the clutch nonstop and is not like a total detractor on defense. And yeah, give me Jalen Brunson. And so this is like, I'll take. I mean, Giannis now. Like this is what we're dealing with in the offseason. What's the return for Giannis going to be? It's less than whatever the return for Jalen Brunson would be if Jalen Brunson were somehow like made available through trade. So yeah, like
where's
we're
Nico
just
Harrison?
Now we're just patting each other on the back where it's like, oh yeah, Mavs fans, I hope you have a safe friend you can call right now. Jalen Brunson has launched himself into this like superstar tier, not just a hero of New York tier, not just clutch player of the year tier, but that's one of the best players in the game. Absolutely.
Let me get one more winner because it's kind of related to Jalen Brunson, and then we can throw it to your list here. I think small guards are a big winner, right? Where it didn't look like we were going in that direction. You look at the final four teams, it's Shea, it's Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and all these guys. Like even James Harden is obviously a bigger guard there. Small guards, right? I mean, we heard Becky Hammond say you can't win with Jalen Brunson. He's too small, these things. And when I talk about small guards, Jalen Brunson is the smallest of the small guards, right? Like we were talking about a pipsqueak in terms of height. Obviously strong. Obviously, I think extremely athletic in ways that we don't traditionally think of athleticism, right? He doesn't have that speed or that leaping ability, but incredible balance, footwork, coordination, all the things like, similar to Steph Curry, where he doesn't have this crazy athleticism, but then you look at Steph's hand-eye coordination, and you're like, oh, that's athleticism in just like a different way, or talent in a different way, whatever word we want to use to describe it. Brunson is elite at certain things, just things that we don't really, again, associate with superstar players who we typically think are 6'6" to 6'8", can have this great 40 time and can jump out of the gym. That's not Brunson, but he is elite. I think he has the best footwork in the league. I don't think it's close. And I think with him and the Knicks, I think they laid the blueprint of, okay, I don't think anybody would choose to build around a small guard as their number one guy. But if I think in the NBA, you don't always get to choose your superstars, right? And if you're one of these teams that have to build around a smaller guard, I think you have to look at the Knicks blueprint and say, all right, like that's how we do it. We got to build if we have one small guy, everybody else has to be jumbo for their positional size and versatility across the board. It's hard to get those players, but again, the Knicks, they made the big move and got OG. They traded the haul of picks that it took to get Bridges. They were bold and got Cat. Like they did the things that you had to do to build the kind of team that you need to build around Brunson. And so I think for small guards, I think that's a win for the season.
I don't know if I agree with you because it feels like for most of the playoffs, it was sort of exposing the problem with small guards at times. And it was like, we're like, oh, the Spurs don't really count because their guards are bigger and Steph Castle and Dylan Harper are able to drive through players. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe this just doesn't matter anymore. Just you have to have any elite player will get it done. But like, I don't know if this is a win for small guards or not. Maybe it is. Get your Ja Morant offers in now. Small guards can win. Breaking. So I don't know. Also, to let Becky Hammond off the hook, that quote I think is from 2023. You could have gotten together every top podcaster, NBA analytics writer from 2023, and I don't think Jalen Brunson would have been in their top 25 players as far as like who can you win a title with. Right. Becky was not speaking out of pocket or anything. So, and it wasn't specifically, I don't think she said anything weird. And now, of course, it's a quote that people can throw back in her face after Brunson delivers and the Knicks come through.
And what's interesting about the timing of that quote, I'm glad you bring it up because that's when Jokic wins the title. But who's the second best player on the Nuggets? It's Jamal Murray, who's a small guard. And so, I think when the Knicks traded for Cat, it was kind of a hedge against, well, what if we were to get a guy who has at least the pedigree to become our best player? Like Brunson is probably the best player in the face of the franchise, but if we like Julius Randle can't be better than Brunson, but if we traded Randle and DiVincenzo and got a guy like Cat, former number one pick, stats are absurd and all these things, the best case scenario version of Cat is probably a better player than Brunson. And of course they were wrong. Like Brunson ended up just being way better than anybody thought. And now Brunson's best case scenario is better than Cat's best. And by the way, Cat was awesome, and he's probably also a winner of these playoffs. But
I mean, Cat was not awesome in games 4 and 5.
Correct.
I mean,
he was not.
He had Brunson dragging him to a title.
Yeah. Yep. Loser Becky Hammon. Because you're right. She also ends up being like the poster child for that statement that everybody was also assuming and making the same assumption. Yet Becky Hammon is the one that's wrong about it. It's like we were all kind of wrong about it.
Right. I'm sure we can find any number of real GM articles from 2023 that saying the Knicks can't win with Brunson.
Folks.
Yeah.
You go ahead. Give me a winner or a loser.
Okay, so you just sort of mentioned it, and it brought me to one of my losers. And I gotta say, I don't know if this is a reflection of my personality. I had a lot more trouble coming up with winners than losers for the season. But here's a loser. I had
a bunch of winners. Okay,
all right, you're a more positive person. Here's a loser. The Denver Nuggets. I think we're a loser of the 2025-2026 season. I think Jokic lost the crown of best player alive. We can argue who he lost it to, be it Shea or Wimby or Jalen Brunson. I don't know. The Nuggets losing the first round. They're not close. They were not close to competing for a title this year, despite, I think, the feeling going into the season, they were one of the best teams to compete for a title. The Cam Johnson trade did not work out at all. Even if it did give them a little bit more depth, having Tim Hardaway Jr. able to have a decent season. But Cam Johnson was not very good on the team. There are now issues with this team staying together as far as their Walmart owners wanting to actually pay for a contender. They are probably going to salary dump one of their players. Perhaps it is Cam Johnson. The David Adelman hire does not seem inspired. And now I don't know what they're going to do going forward. So I think Jokic losing his crown as the best player alive and them losing in the first round and disappointing this year. And now the future is not particularly bright as ownership artificially limits this window for Jokic. Of course, Aaron Gordon, a little bit older, maybe Jamal Murray on the trade block. So I think the Nuggets are one of the losers of this season.
So they have not been back to the Western Conference Finals since they won the championship in 2023. And when they won the title in 23, we were having the same conversation that we're having about the Knicks now, the Thunder last year, the Celtics the year before that. How many more can this team win? How many more can Jokic put together and all these things? And they haven't even sniffed it, right?
Yeah.
And I think there was points in the season where it looked like the Nuggets were right there with everybody else. You could blame injuries. I know Nuggets fans do, for the way that this season went, untimely injuries. But that's what happens when you have an older team. And it's not breaking news that Aaron Gordon is injury prone. You lost a lot of games from Jokic this year, but you were actually good during that stretch in the middle of the year where Jokic was out. Now, obviously, some of those injuries played their way into the playoffs. I still think Jokic wasn't completely right in the postseason. And so maybe there was something that was still lingering there. I don't know. I think you're right. I think they have to be considered losers because of what the expectations were for them. And I do wonder whether or not the window has closed on them, because I'm looking at 23, and again, you feel like a guy like Jokic should have won more. I actually don't think the lost years were the years after that. I think the lost years were the years before that. Like,
sure.
Jamal Murray's injury probably robbed them of the 2022 championship. I think we're talking about a Nuggets repeat in 22 and 23 had Murray not gotten hurt. And I even think they probably make a run there in 2021 potentially also. And I'm wondering if that injury kind of robbed Jokic of multiple rings, because it's just that was they had built up the roster to that point. Jokic and Murray were obviously just like Jokic wasn't even in his prime yet, but he was just kind of entering it, and he was still young enough where he was playing a ton of games and a ton of minutes and all these things. And the league was a little bit weaker at that point. The Thunder hadn't risen. The Spurs are now a thing that they're going to have to contend with. The Timberwolves weren't built and constructed to beat them. Like they were on the precipice and very much kind of pushing the envelope forward in the NBA. And now it feels like they're catching up. And that's a really tough place to be in. And that's how the NBA works, man. Like you're ahead and in an instant you're behind. Somebody else has already passed you. And it feels like a couple of teams in the Western Conference have passed them.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did miss out on because of injuries, maybe more postseason success than they should have had. I mean, I know you can look at this year and say, like, the Peyton Watson breakout was great. Of course, they have to now keep him somehow. Jamal Murray had a career season, but those expectations, the bar being so high and them not hitting that. By the way, can I just say, you said the Timberwolves were constructed specifically to beat the Nuggets. I hear this a lot. I know it's sort of true. They were also specifically built to beat the Grizzlies. I feel like that's one thing that people forget. The Timberwolves lost to my Grizzlies in the playoffs. They got destroyed on the offensive glass, and they said, we need to get bigger. We have to protect the rim. They went out and got Gobert. And I know the Nuggets a bigger problem the years subsequent, but it was they were constructed sort of to beat the Grizzlies.
You're right. Let the record show. Let the record show. One last thing on Denver. One last thing on Denver.
Yeah.
Is Aaron Gordon the guy that has to get traded? He feels so important to that team, and yet his unavailability is consistently the thing that handcuffs them. And if you're able to bring back Peyton Watson at similar money, I know he was hurt at the end of this last year, but younger, ostensibly more available going forward, can do some of those Aaron Gordon things. And if you have to evolve as a team, I do want, and look, Jamal Murray, as good as he was, is making a lot of money. Like, there's not a bunch of suitors. Like, you would think that, hey, Jamal Murray, like, who wouldn't want Jamal Murray? Like, it's hard to find a Jamal Murray team. It's not easy.
Yeah. He's making De'Aaron Fox money.
Right.
Woo.
Aaron Gordon, I think you could pitch Aaron Gordon, especially the way that OG Anunoby just played in the playoffs. Like, I think a lot of teams might be looking for a player like that. Knocked down from the corners, versatile defensively, great team guy. If you were to trade Gordon, loosen up the cap strings a little bit, and maybe even get some assets back, I just wonder if the Nuggets feel forced to make a move. I wonder if that is. I still kind of think the Nuggets should just run it back, but
100% the Nuggets should run it back. This is not a choice between Peyton Watson or Aaron Gordon.
It's a choice.
You need to have both of your players. I think Aaron Gordon is that skeleton key that sort of unlocks everything they have to do. And yes, he's getting older and perhaps going to be even more susceptible to those hamstring issues. If you could get the proper return, because this is the thing, like you're saying, trade Aaron Gordon to save money, but like if you can get back a cheaper OG Anunoby, great, do that, but you can't. So it's like, who's the player who's making $10 million per year or something, who's going to play better and be a better fit than Aaron Gordon? You don't have it. I think you're the Nuggets. If I'm advising the Cronkies, no, pay all your players, run it back, and cross your fingers that Aaron Gordon is healthy, and so is Jamal Murray, and so is Jokic when you get to the postseason.
I agree. This leads me to another loser of mine. We're going to do that on the other side of this quick break. Winners and losers of last season. My loser, and we were talking about Jokic, so this kind of feeds into it. Over 30-year-old stars, just all of them, losers. Jokic, bad in the playoffs. Kevin Durant, exposed in the playoffs. Turns out if you just double him at half court, not very good. Steph Curry, missed the playoffs. James Harden, hardened all over the place in the conference finals. Over 30 stars. It was really rough for them in the playoffs. And just a brief winner here, over 40 stars. Big winners. LeBron James was great in the playoffs. But it was rough for over 30 stars. And I said this on Good Take a couple weeks ago where I was like, I just wonder if you're over 30, you're just 31 even. Are you too old at this point? Because the young players are just so freaking good right now.
I mean, what about under 25 stars? What about Jalen Duren, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Johnson? What about Victor in the final 2 minutes of every game when he's too exhausted to make a free throw?
25 to 29 is the sweet spot.
You gotta find that sweet spot. Here's what you gotta have. You have to have like 5 years of Tibbs running you to death, and then one cool down year with Mike Brown where you don't play quite as much. I think that is proven. That's the perfect formula.
There it is. That's the blueprint.
I have another loser, and I just think I don't have a lot on them, but I think they're a loser, and it's the Thunder. I think the Thunder, you started off 24-1. You were prohibitive favorites to win the title, to repeat again, to break the streak of there being a different winner every season. And then you ran into a Spurs team you could not solve. You got up still 3-2 in the conference finals. Yes, you dealt with injuries, the Jalen Williams situation all year. Yes, you did treat your fans to an enjoyable regular season, but in the NBA, expectations are the thief of joy, and to not come through with the championship, to miss this window before you had to face all the contract stuff that's going to be going now from this season into the future forever. I think to miss that window, yeah, maybe not overwhelming losers, but I think they're losers.
Given the stakes of what they lost, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have to be considered losers. I think you're right, because in December, we were thinking, can this team break the 73 win mark?
Yeah.
And how many championships are they going to win in a row? Yeah. Right? And we kind of all knew the Spurs are coming, but they're not going to be here yet. That would be crazy, right? Like, this is still the Thunder's championship to lose, and they lost it to the Spurs. And the thing is, they lost to the Spurs. I know that it took them 7 games in the Western Conference Finals, but then they lost to them over and over again in the regular season. And it was that loss to the Spurs in December that really just sort of derailed their season. They're like, oh, you know what? We're not even going to, and derailed is a strong word because they still ended up being the 1 seed. Yeah. But, we went all of a sudden from like 74 wins, greatest team of all time, to, they'll probably just make the finals. And just going from that to that is just such a big difference. Historically great to, okay, let's see if they can repeat again. And now what looked like their league that they owned suddenly it didn't slip through their fingers. They just now have to share it with the Spurs and the Knicks, by the way. And I don't think anybody's looking around and saying, I don't think we could beat the Thunder next year, right? Like, you saw multiple teams put up a fight against them. I don't think anybody as good as the Knicks were. I don't think anybody looks at the Knicks the way that we looked at the Thunder coming off the champion, or even the Celtics the year before that. I think the Knicks feel beatable next year. And the Spurs, we're like, hey, that's a team that needs some playoff scars. Who's to say one run is enough scars, right? Like, I feel like we could probably beat San Antonio if we have the right kind of players and the right matchup. So, all of a sudden what felt like Oklahoma City's league for like the next half decade suddenly doesn't feel like that as strongly anymore.
Yeah, and the league's a big winner there too, because like you said, it felt like we were in this Thunder world, and now all of a sudden the West has the Thunder and the Spurs. And so that's good for viewership. Do you want me to take over your show and now switch to a winner?
Yeah, give me a winner.
Here's a deeper cut. I think the Charlotte Hornets were a winner. I think they were a joyful, fun story of the regular season, but they were a joyful, fun story. You had Con Knipple rivaling Cooper Flagg in that Rookie of the Year race. They turned the ship around. The buzz is back. The Hornets had that super long stretch, was like a 30-game stretch near the end of the season where they had the best net rating over the whole league. They were blowing everybody out. A lot of fun. And now, it didn't end great, but they are, I think, an ascendant team. They have a couple of first-round picks they get to use this coming Tuesday for the draft. Things are pointed in the right direction. They even have flexibility with some of the players they have on their team. They could put a package together for maybe a different player, a higher-paid player to come in and play alongside Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. And I think they were a super fun team. Mamade Diakite, Tribe Stand Up. Great season. Excuse me, Diabate. I think I threw the wrong deep cut.
Yep.
Great season for the Hornets, and I think they were a lot of fun. So I think they were a winner.
Definite winner. We were winners watching them. League Pass All-Star team, right? Especially because they always had that 7 p.m. Eastern tip. I watched so many, the first halves of so many Hornets games this year, and they were always so much fun. LaMelo Ball, big winner. Right, really kind of turned his whole thing around. Everyone's like, oh, you know what? You can actually win 40-plus games with LaMelo Ball as still their best player, as good as Con Knipple was. Brandon Miller was great. I still think LaMelo, when you look at all the metrics and stuff, was still their highest impact guy.
No reckless driving charges? Another winning season for LaMelo?
We just had the one, right?
I don't. Did he get charged?
I don't think. No charges. Right. You're right.
I'm saying no charges as far as I know.
It's just the video. So there we go. That's good. Yeah, I think they have to be there. Charlotte to me is really interesting this offseason. They're my favorite LeBron James like dream team.
Oh,
Could you
yeah,
imagine
that'd be
LeBron
fun.
in the Miles Bridges spot
Yeah.
where he's just I'm just trying to think of LeBron. Like, what's his late career? If he's Tom Brady, who's his late career Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Where it's just like this off the board team, but like good enough weather, cool vibes. I can kind of just do whatever I want. I love go back to the Eastern Conference where it's a little bit of an easier path. Play next to Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, and LaMelo Ball. Tons of shooting. They'll play fast. I kind of like LeBron again playing the way he did next to Luka, like as this sort of secondary player on that team with that coach in that conference. I think would be a lot of fun, and I actually think the Hornets could make the finals with that team if you just kind of, hey, let's get growth from everybody, maybe add a couple more role players, get LeBron in here and do that. That would be really interesting to me. And little side bonus, Steph Curry's franchise, isn't it? That's the team that everybody thought, hey, if Steph ever leaves the Warriors, he would go to Charlotte. What if LeBron did the Steph thing? It's like, hey, I took your girl. I'm going to go. I'm going to take Charlotte, and I'm going to become the face of this franchise. I'll become the greatest player in franchise history real quick. I thought that would be.
I think it's a great basketball fit. I can even imagine the off the court LeBron like enrolling at grad school at Duke. Yeah, that just feels like something.
He would love that. So performative.
Like ESPN would love that. It would just be all we see on all the broadcasts. Well, here's LeBron in one of his classes.
Right. Or just give like a bunch of money to UNC and just have like a bigger building than Jordan there or something. Like
I like this legacy. What are we competing? Trying
it would be a legacy peeing on the fire hydrant.
There you go.
Marking your territory. That's what it would be. So that's your winner. Let me get it to a winner here. I'm gonna go twofer for NBA events, NBA calendar events, the NBA Cup and NBA All-Star. I thought were winners this year. The NBA Cup, you mentioned it before. Knicks won the cup, then they win the championship in a cup rematch. It really kind of makes it feel like the NBA Cup matters. I'm still a little dubious that it does matter. It feels like it could just be a coincidence that good teams just tend to win things. But it is, if you were a stockholder in the NBA Cup, this is slide number 1 in your angel investor pitch, right? Of like, hey, please invest in the NBA Cup. Look at how much it matters. The team that won the title ended up winning the cup, a couple months before that. So there's that. And then NBA All-Star, for as silly as the team format was and the round robin thing was, people seemed to enjoy it. And that was good. And a lot of the guys really played hard. Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, those guys played hard. And that brings me to my one other winner. And then I want to kind of throw it to you here is trying hard. Big winner of this season. Victor Wembanyama, ultimate tryhard, right? Out there, Timothy Chalameting it up. The Chalamet effect of the NBA, right? Chalamet went out there and said, I want to be the greatest actor of all time. I want to win the awards. I know that I'm not allowed to be competitive in this industry, but I'm going to come out and say I want to be competitive. It sounds like I'm quoting him. I'm not. I'm paraphrasing him. But like, Wembanyama basically did the Chalamet thing. Anthony Edwards has always been a try hard, right? He's always super competitive, talking about wanting to play hard and doing all these things. I think it was a big year for trying hard, right? The Knicks, like all this James Dolan stuff that's come out and being like, I'm challenging you to not have sex for 10 months or whatever it was. And like
10 weeks, Wes, please.
10 weeks. Okay. let's be reasonable.
Let's be reasonable, sir.
Like all these things. And it's just like, yeah, trying hard. It's okay to try hard. After like the LeBronification of the NBA, where it was just like, hey, it's player empowerment. It's more than just what's on the court. It's what's off the court too. And our businesses and our brands. And I'm too cool for school. Like, I don't need to do the dunk contest. Like what's in it for me kind of thing. Like, you know what? I just like guys going for stuff. I like guys wanting awards, wanting championships, and putting themselves out there, despite the fact that it's risky to put yourselves out there. Because if you tell the world what you want and then you don't get it, you look like a failure. Where if you kind of do this too cool for school thing, where you've got guys like Jokic just being like, I only really care about horses anyway. Who cares? Giannis giving beat reporters a lecture about what failure really means. Like all that stuff was really lame. This is way more cool.
My initial reaction was I was going to push back because I do feel like I don't like the characterization of players not trying hard because they're all trying hard. But I do think specifically, and I was going to kind of poke fun at you saying like Wimby tried hard. I'm like, that man is the most physically gifted human on the planet. But I do think you're absolutely correct. The way that Wimby tried hard, specifically in the All-Star game, that is what made it. It was not the new format. I at least that's my argument. I don't think it was the new format. I think it was the fact that Wimby tried hard.
Well, I think the new format played
competitiveness.
And the new format played into Wemby's hands, right? Short bursts, which helped Wemby play hard for the duration.
We found out he's a little bit aerobically limited, perhaps, compared to some other players. No, I do think that the new format, I think it worked because the players did compete and we got good basketball. It still doesn't work to me because when I say, Wes, who won the All-Star game? No one has any idea.
I have no idea.
One has any. I don't know. Who was on which team? Brother, no clue. There was like an old team of U.S. guys, and then there was the younger team, sorta. Like no one remembers. So I do think it has failed in that sense. As far as the cup being good or bad, I don't know. No one can fly to Las Vegas on like 5 days notice for like a Thursday through Sunday or whatever. Like, so it's still a weird thing. Yes. Fans can't actually go to it. I don't know. You did a twofer. I want to do a twofer for a winner.
I just want to be clear. Trying hard. I'm not saying that LeBron doesn't try. He clearly tries. He tries as hard as anybody ever has, right? The amount of work that he puts into the game. Yeah. My thing is being open about the fact that you are trying hard. Like LeBron was always trying really hard, and then Giannis was always trying, and then these stars would always kind of go. I don't mean to just rag on LeBron. It's like that whole generation of stars doing all this stuff behind the scenes, and then up front being like, yeah, it's just like it's bigger than the game and all that stuff. I'm like, no. It's all about the game. Your whole thing is this game. You don't have any of this other stuff without this game. The game is the biggest thing. I don't want to ever hear it's bigger than the game. It's not. The game is the biggest thing. And it feels like this new generation stars is like, yeah, the game's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Here's a couple of winners.
Yeah, give me a twofer.
The Suns and the Raptors. These are two teams you could perhaps disparagingly say they're in the middle. I know the real GM crowd hates for their teams to be in the middle. Right. You got to be a contender. You got to be a rebuilder. No, I think it was great. I think both teams competed in the face of perhaps like a blow it up strategy. Both teams treated their fans to 6 months of competitive basketball where they won more than they lost, which is what the NBA is supposed to be about. It is it's an entertainment product, even if those in charge of the teams seem intent on destroying that entertainment product. I think, getting an all-star season from Brandon Ingram, getting Dylan Brooks competing out in the West, a Colin Gillespie breakthrough, Jamal Shedd playing important minutes, having playoff games. Like these are all great things. You got to develop some fun guys. You got to compete for a little bit. I think they're winners. I think they're winners of this season. More teams should be like the Suns and the Raptors.
I 100% agree with you. I'm glad that you pointed them out. I love the theme of your winners list is all these teams in the middle. It's Phoenix, Toronto, Charlotte. I love all of it. By the way, that brings me to my double whammy here. Loser tanking, winner being in the middle. I have both of these things because we're all celebrating these teams. Phoenix was also one of these teams that was so much fun to watch on League Pass. They played so hard and maximized that roster that was not very good, right? Like I like players on that roster. I don't think you look at that Suns roster like, yeah, that's a playoff team, right?
Yeah.
They played really hard. They're super well coached. And there's something to be said about, hey, after that mess of what we did, like kind of going for it with Beal and Durant and Booker, to be able to turn around and kind of figure out something that resembled the basketball team after that, even if we weren't even as good, right? Like maybe we didn't win as many games. Like they won more games than the year before, but not the years before that. Like it was still a much better product. And so that's really important. And then we also, while we celebrated all these teams, at the same time, we finally went the other way on this tanking team. And we all agreed, this sucks. Stop doing it. Analytics, whatever. Nobody wants to watch. When all these teams are tanking, the basketball is so bad. And I think tanking has been overstated as a problem in the league for a really long time. It was a real problem this year because so many of these, it wasn't just the teams that were tanking. It was the games that we were watching. Right? Like you were watching your team playing a tanking team. That wasn't fun. That wasn't interesting, And so, God forbid those two teams would play each other. And you're like, should this even be allowed to be on TV or should the FCC step in at some point? Like this was horrible. So, then you get the final sort of Adam Silver hey, like we're just going to change the tanking rules altogether. Now we have these new rules and we're going to figure out a way to get rid of tanking. And in their way, what I've talked enough about like the new rules and what I like and don't like about it. The thing I like about it is I think that idea of that relegation zone. Hey, if you're in that bottom 3, you just don't have as good as odds as 4 through 10. I like that because now you're going to have, and now I think you're going to have teams try to get into the middle. And by the way, getting to the middle isn't that hard. It's not that hard to build a 40-win basketball team, a 38-win basketball team. It's really not that hard. It's harder to actually build a team that wins 15 games. That's harder. And so a lot of teams are just going to be like, oh, okay, our odds are better if we win 38 games as opposed to 15 games. Okay. And now all of a sudden, I think these teams in one offseason can just be like, all right, let's go win 38 games instead.
I think it should be,
still get the odds.
I think it should be a big win for season ticket holders and fans of more NBA teams. Just I think the tanking, and I've been on this show before talking about it actually several times. I feel like it was a giant existential crisis that like you have a professional entertainment sport where all your games or something like 70% of your games, you don't feature 2 teams trying to win. Like I think that was a huge problem. I don't think this has totally fixed it because now you've presented teams with, hey, do you want to get boat raced by the Spurs or would you like a 37% chance at a top 5 pick? And that's kind of like, wait, I'm sorry. That doesn't seem like a hard choice for me. Like, and I don't know how that's going to switch, but I'm going to go to a loser. So like tanking, yes, it's sort of dead, but it also was great for the Grizzlies and the Jazz and such.
Can I get one more loser in here? Just sort of related. Tanking teams in general were losers also because a team that was built through trades and free agency just won the finals in 5 games and dominated in the playoffs. So we haven't seen a team built through tanking actually win a title in a long time. Oklahoma City did it a little bit. It still wasn't like,
but like it. That's one where I always say it's not a definitive argument pro tanking. They could have jumped up from 9-2 to gotten Chet Holmgren, and then the other guys they got was trade, and it was later in the lottery. It was not like these top 5 picks.
Right, and they traded for their best player in Shea, and they didn't get over the hump until they signed 2 high-priced free agents in Caruso, or traded for Caruso and signed Hartenstein. So like those things were also good. And then you look at like, I hear that the Knicks, like I proposed this on Twitter the other day and people came back to me like, no, the Knicks tanked. They got RJ Barrett, who they traded for OG Anunoby. Look, there's a difference between what the Jazz did and just breaking up Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert because winning 49 games a year just wasn't good enough, where that was not a crisis that they needed to deal with in that moment. They just broke it up because they wanted to go the other way, or tanking in the way that we see from other teams so egregiously for multiple years in a row versus what the Knicks did coming out of the Carmelo Anthony, Kristaps Porzingis mess, right? Carmelo Anthony first and then Kristaps. They needed to get their books in order. And that was just sort of like, could they have won a few more games? Yeah, but they had to get things in order. And for the Thunder, Kevin Durant left and they tried to do it with Paul George and Russell Westbrook. And then Paul George tried to get to LA and they saw this haul of stuff coming over and a get out of jail free card. And they tanked for a couple of years. But they were very much rebuilding and we're trying to build towards something. And, we're trying different players, right? Remember Poku and stuff like that. They were like actually trying to develop guys and see what would stick. That's different than what I think the egregious tanking teams more recently have done, right? I think those, like, not all tanking is created equal. So I would say, tanking teams.
It's debatable. Like the Thunder did punt on great years of Shea because they wanted the draft picks. But here's the take. It just occurred to me. Would the Thunder have been better this year if they hadn't tanked for Chet Holmgren? What if they found a free agent? Speaking of tankers that had a bad year, Wes, here's a loser. The Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, basically an expansion team. They did not field a competitive basketball team. They did that for 2 straight seasons. They traded first-round picks to get their own picks back just so they could tank. They don't get a top 5 pick out of that. They got Jaeger Yeoman, I guess. They also have to watch their crosstown.
Yep.
I can't say rival, like the crosstown other team win this drought, this 53-year drought, and no, they will never, ever, ever be on that level in the city. they gave their fans nothing for 2 years, and they have they have Michael Porter Jr. and Nick Claxton. Those are like the two, okay, you're NBA players. Like, I think the Nets should be allowed to move to Seattle. Listen, I'm not a fan I'm not a fan of relocation. That should not happen to any fan base. I would argue Nets fans gleefully were on the Knicks bandwagon and rightfully enjoy it. Go cheer for your title that the Knicks won. I don't think any Nets fans would even be bothered. They just want a title with the Knicks.
Nets fans would be relieved that they don't have to root for the Nets. You have a built-in excuse of, hey, that team that I used to root for, now the enemy, I have to be a Knicks fan now.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to the Clippers, where I think every Clippers fan secretly just wants to be a Lakers fan.
Let the Nets fans convert. Knicks fans, I know you welcome them in for this title run. We can pretend the Nets never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Nets they might be my number one loser of last year.
They might be. It's a great call. Mike Breen talking about Julian Champagnie playing against his hometown team when Julian Champagnie is from Brooklyn, or grew up in Brooklyn. Like, just to completely ignore the fact that Brooklyn has a basketball team is wild.
Like, there aren't. I want to say, like, David Roth from Defector. He's like a Nets fan, but he wouldn't care. I need to find out how he felt about I assume the joy of that city all coming together. And this is one of the more likable teams from my outsider perspective, living in Tennessee. The Knicks looked like one of the most likable teams, personality-wise.
One of the biggest rivals in Miami Heat history. If you grew up a Heat fan in the 90s, you hated the Knicks.
Of course.
Everybody in Miami likes this Knicks team.
They're likable.
Everybody's like, yeah, I kind of like that Knicks team. They kind of play the way that the Heat used to play. That's
even
cool.
Cat, who, like I say on the court, Cat rubs people the wrong way with his like facial expressions and his dumb fouls. He is the most generous and gracious person when he's talking about opponents, when he's talking about teammates, when we reporters try to get him to say something incendiary. He is just so smart and like supportive of other NBA players, and talking about how good Victor Wembanyama, that team is very likable.
Yeah, the 180 on Cat from his public perception has been huge.
Yeah,
cheer for the Knicks.
Yeah.
So you said move him to Seattle. Could they just go back to New Jersey? Does New Jersey? I don't think New Jersey roots for the Knicks.
What does that accomplish? Okay, you think New Jersey still okay? Fine.
I think Jersey is like, hey, we still kind of wish we had our own team. Now, I don't think they look at this Nets roster and be like, yeah, bring them over here. Yep. I do wonder where you could move them and they'd actually be happy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, instead of getting expansion teams in Seattle and Vegas, do we just move Brooklyn and New Orleans to Seattle?
That's what I'm saying.
Vegas?
No. New Orleans, they have their fans. I'm just saying Vegas doesn't need a team. Expansion is dead. No one's paying $6 billion or whatever. Nets to Seattle, we're done. Let's solve your problem.
That might be it. That might be it. All right, let me get to the quick loser, Sacramento Kings. We kind of mentioned it before, watching Mike Brown, De'Aaron Fox in the NBA Finals. We're like, whoa, that's crazy. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, Tyrese Halliburton, who they also traded in the Finals last year. Luka Doncic, who they did not draft, making the Finals in 2024. It's been rough for the Sacramento Kings. Let's see. Winner, centers. I think it's a win for centers. I think the league is going to be looking at centers who can battle with Wembanyama and Jokic. I think you look at Cat as a floor spacing 5 with size, as maybe, weirdly enough, the prototype center that teams are going to be looking for. If you look at where the league is trending, and if you're trying to be forward looking, like, yeah, we need a center who's dynamic, who can allow us to play a bunch of different kinds of ways. And we're looking at where the league is going, and we're going to need to have real impact at that position if we're going to have to battle Wemby and Jokic for the next few years, and Giannis, over wherever he ends up next. You're going to need a center. I think if you're a center entering the league right now, I think it's a good time for you. Where there was a dark period there for centers for a while. I think we're kind of coming out of that, and now teams are like, yeah, we need to pay people at this position.
That's interesting. I think you're correct. It might be a win for center prospects coming in to the next few drafts.
Right.
But I think the counter to that is that loser we threw out earlier was like Jalen Duren, and teams being like, "What? We can't pay a Jalen Duren. What are we doing here?" So I don't know. You're right. Maybe the bigs.
That's what I meant. Like the new centers who are coming.
It might be a return of the big stiffs. We
Yeah.
have to get the Todd McCullochs to wrestle with Shaq. Who is the next archetype?
And by the way, I'm not sure Jalen Duren is going to be a loser. Like he's coming off of a little bit of playoff stink. He's still going to get a raise.
He always getting a raise, but I'm saying what he thought. I guess a quick one. The Bucks.
Yep.
Are losers. They amnestied Damian Lillard to do this last gasp attempt to appease Giannis by signing Miles Turner, and they were just god awful, and they did not win in the lottery. This was not a team for Doc Rivers to be coaching at any point. They needed, I think, a young, innovative mind there. They also needed young talent. They got very little going forward, I guess, dependent on whatever this Giannis trade return is going to be. Also, Wes, losers, Pacers. The Pacers made one of the most fortunate trades ever last year in the finals by reacquiring their own draft pick days before Halliburton blows his Achilles. Then they end up being awful. They do not overachieve like many of us thought they would without Halliburton. They were terrible. They stuck up the whole season. And instead of reaping the rewards of that, they got a GM out here gambling on a coin flip for Zubac. And so they tanked a whole year. I mean, debatable if they tanked. They were horrible for an entire season and did not get to reap the rewards of that. They traded Benedict Mathurin, the number 5 pick, and a future first rounder for Ivica Zubac. That is bad. That's a loser for me.
I'm not as harsh on the Pacers because I do think Zubac would be a good fit for them and solves a need. I think he's better than Miles Turner already. So it's not a need that was created by just not paying Miles Turner. I think that Zubac is just a better player. It does sting though. Like it does sting. Now, fortunately, if it wasn't the 5th pick in this draft, it would have been an unprotected pick a few years from now. So it's not like they were going to have to give up a first round pick at some point, but the sting, I hear you. It's like extra. It's like, hey, we just did this whole thing and we were talking about who we could get in this loaded draft class. And now we don't even have a pick in this loaded draft class. That one. And
it wasn't a far off. We might have to give up a high pick at some point. It was we already know who the consensus top 4 are. We already know who the top 8 to 10 are. There are clear-cut tiers. We have guaranteed ourselves a top 6 pick. Hear me out. What if we gambled that pick after all this to get a center, but a center who's not the youngest, who's going to be playing alongside a not the youngest Pascal Siakam and a Halliburton coming off of a catastrophic injury. Gambling your top 5, 6 pick for that, to me, I called it reckless in the moment. You lost the coin flip. It looks terrible in retrospect. I'm not a huge fan. Also, like one of the reasons Zubac was that perfect fit is because he didn't make that much, because it's the team that also won't pay the luxury tax. So like, I cannot approve of this behavior.
Speaking of making money, winner taking less money. Jalen Brunson.
That's a loser for every player. That's a loser for every free agent who has to hear, well, Jalen Brunson sacrificed for the greater good. It's a loser. I hate it. It is,
but it's a winner for fans. Okay. And I think for Brunson to come out and and look, there's the Brunson thing, like his dad works for the team and there's a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But also we're looking at a scenario where LeBron might take less money. And LeBron for years has said, I won't take less money because I don't want to set an example of other players taking less money. And that was the big thing with player empowerment. But I think there's some empowerment also in deciding to take less money and just being like, look, I'm willing to put some money on the table and like leave some money on the table if it means that the team can get better around me. I think taking less money is a big winner. Tom Brady took less money. Tim Duncan took less money. Like these guys we consider ultimate winners. Sometimes the money's worth it.
The Tim Duncan thing felt evil and wrong at the time. And I think it was wrong. Dirk Nowitzki also taking less money feels evil. Here's the thing about LeBron taking less money. LeBron turns 42 in December, also a billionaire.
Right.
Couple of things there. We can unpack them on their own. The billionaire, if you figure it out yourself, he doesn't need money. I don't think he's setting a bad example.
He can sign an endorsement deal tomorrow.
Like what is LeBron's maximum allowable salary? I don't know this. Is it like 65 million or something? Like it's
yeah.
LeBron, marketing wise, in an entertainment product, LeBron is worth all of that money. In a basketball sense, LeBron probably not worth that money. He's not worth 38%, 40% of your salary cap
right
at age 42. Brunson is deserving probably of the 35% of a team salary cap, and him taking that big haircut if he's not making it up in crypto scams on the side. I kid. I have no information there. But they're like that part of it is sort of it's I don't know. It's a bad precedent for, of course, salary cap leagues where the owners themselves are capping how much they can spend to make more money. They're doing it to make more money at the expense of the players, at the expense of the fans. Yeah, that's a loser for me, Wes.
I have two more losers.
Okay.
I don't. What else do you have on your list? Do you have any more winners? Do I have any more winners?
I got a couple more losers. Winners.
Wait. I don't spoil the winners because I think we should end on a winner. So,
we are so different, Wes. Okay, I'll keep.
You want to end on a loser?
No. Let's end on the winners. You're right. Your show.
Yeah. Let me give you a loser. Maury ball teams. No team in the top 5 in 3-point attempts in the regular season made it out of the first round.
Yeah.
Warriors, Hornets, Trailblazers, Celtics, Suns. 2 of those teams we talked about potentially winning a championship this year, at least competing for it in the Warriors and the Celtics. The Suns and the Hornets had good years, but didn't make it out of the first round. Portland, same thing. No team in the top 5 in 3-point attempts per game made it out of the first round. Sorry to all you 3-point shooting heads out there, where if I have to hear another Celtics fan or Cavs fan or somebody like that say, hey, like if we just made our threes, we would have won XYZ. You got to find a way to do something else. When the threes aren't going in, you got to learn to do something else. The Spurs and the Knicks made the finals shooting less than 36 3-point attempts per game in the playoffs. That would have ranked in the bottom half of the league in the regular season. This is a huge loss for you Maury ball teams and a huge win, I think, for NBA fans, because I don't think anybody wants to watch unless you're a fan of these teams and you just, well, it's make or miss league. Like, miss me with that. It's boring basketball. I want to see offenses play defenses, not offenses just shoot over defenses. Big win for fans. Big win for the league. Big loss for all you Maury ball stat nerds. Doesn't work. Got to do something else. You got to shoot threes, make threes at a high clip, but you also have to be able to do other things.
Yeah. You said it. I got nothing to add. Touch the paint. Every team needs a Corliss Williamson off the bench to post up just 5 or 6 times.
Agreed. Bring back Zebo. Give me a loser.
Real quick, the Pelicans.
Yep.
It's their whole thing.
Yep.
Trading away the 8th pick, still looking like they were tanking despite not having their own pick. The Orlando Magic.
Mm-hmm.
They went all in a year that the East was wide open and won nothing. They almost missed the playoffs. Then they almost won their first round series, but of course they did not. Not ideal there.
Okay. I have one more loser. Adam Silver. I don't think it was a good year for Adam Silver.
You just praised the cup and the lottery reform.
No. I still don't know how I feel about the cup or and I don't like the lottery reform overall. I just think that if you're a tanking team now, like your strategy went out the window. Kawhi, Terry Rozier.
The Kawhi thing's not great.
The tanking thing being a story all season long, and then everybody still being kind of split on your resolution here.
That's a great point, Wes. This is, if Adam Silver, if you'd done your job for the last however many years of not letting this be the thing that we got to, yeah, we wouldn't have to have been.
Because everybody now is sort of recognizing that in real time, like, hey, you kind of let it get to this point. And then for Silver to have those comments at the end of before game 1 of the finals, being like, yeah, weird that fans are like okay with their teams tanking. I'm like, don't start pointing fingers right now. This is on you, dude.
That has been, and I don't know, I think it might speak to the media landscape just the last 10 years. It's sort of a monoculture and you have the top, if it's like say Zach Lowe, and like you have these like predominant voices, and it all kind of drifts down from there. And if the ESPN talking heads have all been like comfortable with tanking and thinking of tanking as maybe the best path forward, even though it is still completely unproven, like that this is the best way to do things, but it is a viable path that keeps team employees employed.
Correct.
Thus, it feels very like a great option. And the fact that the dominant discussions around basketball, all your TV shows and podcasts argue in favor of it and are comfortable with losing. That's how we kind of got here, where it becomes like, no, this team should blow it up. This team should blow it up. Zach Kleiman, GM of the year for trading away Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bain. It's like, what's the point?
To me, it hit the right time too, where the NBA media was trending towards analytics in a very real way.
Yeah.
And the analytics said, all you had people, whoever it was, Sam Presti, Daryl Morey, like all these guys being like, hey, look, like we have to tank. There's just like, we have to build the draft. The analytics show this, like, and you're just kind of dumb if you don't agree with this. Like that was sort of the sentiment, right? Like if you don't think tanking works, then you're dumb and you don't know how it really works. And the last thing that nerds want to feel like is dumb. And so everybody just kind of got on board with this. And to your point, there's never been like, there's no proof that it works better. And while I'm here, this idea that also building through the draft was quote unquote the right way to build, to me is complete nonsense. Like if you have a right way to build, then get rid of the wrong ways. If free agency and trades are the wrong way to build, then why do we have them?
Well, Wes, they basically got rid of free agency, and yeah, trades are more and more difficult. It's still correct. The statistically best way to get a franchise changing player for a small market team that doesn't have like Jalen Brunson's dad on the coaching staff, it is still, of course, the draft. But of course, we have no history that like the team that drafts the player ever wins the title.
Right.
Type thing. There's just, I think
also another thing that happened under Adam Silver's watch this year, injuries became such a major talking point. The 65 game rule, a side loser, it kind of feels like we might be trending away from that. And that's a winner. We're winners for that because I think it's a dumb rule. But Adam Silver's great 65 game rule. It feels like with the Luka Doncic and Cade Cunningham exceptions that the league might be trending towards phasing that out. So another one of Silver's experiments probably not working here. When Adam Silver reflects on his tenure as commissioner, he's going to look at this season and be like, that was not my best one. And he might not blame himself for it. I don't know, but he's just gonna be like, yeah, that was just not a fun season for me as commissioner.
Yeah, I agree. Here's my last loser, Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas.
Yeah, out of the league. Definitely a loser.
Yeah, not great.
Give me your last winner.
All right, last winner. I think I'll pick the Atlanta Hawks. That they navigated the tricky waters of trading away a franchise star and did not miss a beat, arguably got better. They're really well set up for the future, thanks to that Pelicans pick. The Nickeil Alexander-Walker signing was great. So I think the Hawks just navigated, again, a tough circumstance, and now are one of the more promising teams in the Eastern Conference.
It's a great one. I think the Clippers are another winner also in a weird way, despite the dealing with the Kawhi Leonard stuff. Like they found a way at the trade deadline to kind of re-gear their team. They end up, the flip side of your Zubac Pacers loser point is the Clippers. They end up with the 5th pick in this draft. They get Garland, they get Mathurin. They've, in one kind of fell swoop, charted a path towards the future where it kind of looked like they had a dead end roster built around Kawhi and Harden. Still have Kawhi for now. We'll see what happens there, but I think they did a good job. My last winner, and we can end on this, champagne. Just in general, we remember that the Thunder didn't know how to open their bottles of champagne and didn't drink champagne after the championship. And I was like, are we heading in a direction where this new generation is just not going to pop champagne after the championship? Nope. We're not going there for 2 reasons. Number one, the Knicks covered in champagne after they won the championship. Good on the Knicks. That's how you do it. That's how you party. Learn something, Thunder. And number 2, the guy who's probably going to win multiple championships over the next few years is French. You better know Victor Wembanyama is popping bottles of some nice champagne when he eventually does win a championship. So champagne back on the map.
Wes, I gotta say, the Thunder was like the youngest title team ever. Of course they don't know what to do with a champagne bottle. The Knicks, they're all veterans. They're all closer to 30. So this makes sense to me. This is not an issue. I have no problem shaming the Thunder for not understanding what to do with a champagne bottle. I didn't know how to open a champagne bottle when I was 21. I don't know, you're getting even if you're drinking back then, you're getting like the cheapest whatever for this, like a screw top. So yeah, I got no problem.
They didn't even drink it
with them.
Screw top Sauvignon Blanc and just like screw that baby open. Have a cocktail.
I'm saying there's no screw offs in the title locker room. After you win the title, they're not
whatever
bringing
the reason
screw
is.
offs.
It looked like champagne was going to be sidelined there. If the Thunder were going to rattle off this dynasty, who knows? Would they ever have learned to pop the bottles?
Are you prepared for Wembanyama on the heels of this disappointing result, swearing off alcohol? What are you going to do then?
He'll pop a bottle when he wins, right? You swear off alcohol until you win, just like you swear off sex for 10 months.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Keith Parish does an amazing job covering the NBA over at Fast Baked Breakfast. The Memphis Grizzlies at the Grits and Grinds podcast, always one of our favorites here on Real GM Radio. Keith, thanks so much for jumping on, man.
Thanks, Wes.